To me, right now, the most concerning threat to our society and us as individuals is reaching a point at which the bare minimum of what is necessary is too much, is not doable. I think about it in the grand scale of individual lives, of like, this is the ideal life, the thing we're striving towards, and then there's all these different levels of acceptability. Like, I would love this, but I'm willing to settle for this because it's more realistic, it's more stable. Or maybe I'm willing to sacrifice this in exchange for that, blah, blah, blah. And you work your way down until, like, you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. This is like the bare minimum of what is necessary to sustain life, let alone a good life. Just the bare fucking minimum. And we are at a point where a start of, at the percentage of the population that is not capable of achieving this is increasing at a startling rate. AKA, like, things are getting more and more difficult to the point where we can't. Like, I've moved back in with my parents over a year ago because I literally cannot afford rent, even if I'm working multiple jobs. Even when I was working in middle management, I could not afford my own apartment, food, gas, life insurance, like the bare fucking minimum to live on my own. Not possible, even in a good position. And I live in a relatively affordable area. Not super affordable. There's definitely other places that would be good, but I stay here because of family. But my point is, like, there are a lot of people living in places. I'd say most people are living in places where it is even more difficult than it is here, and I empathize with them. But like, eventually, I'm lucky that I get to be here with my parents. A lot of people don't have that, and I recognize and appreciate the hell out of the fact that I have this little refuge to try to recover and rebuild and, like, redirect my life and try to be like, okay, can I actually build a life in which I am capable of achieving that bare minimum? But this is relevant to the channel right now because on March 24th, I decided I'm going to go back to every other day uploads. And so that becomes part of what I am considering to be like my bare minimum. I gotta get enough sleep every night, which I'm staying up too late right now in order to make this video. I'm staying up. My bare minimum is to get enough sleep, get enough water, meditate for at least like 5 minutes, because, like, who doesn't have 5 minutes? Eat as healthy as I can. Exercise at least for 10 minutes, because again, it's 10 minutes. Those two things combined, 15 minutes. There is not a person on this planet who is too busy to take 15 minutes for their own self-care. So it's little things like that. What is my bare minimum? And when life, not just on the grander scale, but in the day-to-day scale, gets so clogged up with all these extra chores, unexpected dishes, unexpected bill, now we gotta go pay the taxes, all this, like, extra shit that ends up clogging up our time to the point where we can't even do the bare minimum. I have to sacrifice one thing in order to get another. I'm having to, like, sacrifice a bit of sleep in order to make this video, and I'm like, well, where's the priority, which one is mattering most? God, it's so hard to, like, you see what I'm saying? There's this pattern that I'm explaining with an example makes sense on the bigger grand scale as well, where it's like everything is a matter of priorities and finding out, like, what is actually true bare minimum, because we think, again, there's like all these different levels, and we think, okay, this is the bare minimum of what I need in order to survive and live off on my own in my own apartment. But then it turns out that's not really true bare minimum, because I could sacrifice the apartment, move back in with my parents, save on rent, and I'm still surviving. I'm still living. I'm arguably doing slightly better now because humans are not meant to live alone. They're, I get to kind of. It doesn't really cost them that much extra to have me here because the heat is going to be on anyways. The electricity is going to be on anyways. I use a few cents of electricity to use my computer. The AC in the summer is going to be on anyways, right? Regardless of if I'm here or not. It's not like I'm increasing their costs. I do a little bit because I'm adding an extra shower or two or three, an extra load of laundry or two or three, a little bit of extra food. So, but turns out there's this lower other bare minimum. There's bare minimum to live alone on my own, self-supporting myself, and that's like my ideal bare minimum. And then there's lower and lower and lower bare minimums to, like, I could live in my van, I could sell the van and live out of a backpack. And it's a bit of a humbling ego death, give up your pride sort of thing, to recognize that what you thought was your bare minimum really isn't, and you're not only capable of but needing to go lower. And I think that's a very healthy experience to go through. Not comfortable, but it teaches you a lot about life. And it teaches you in a way that other people can't, if that makes sense. There's all these... everyone knows that there's children starving in Africa, for example. But until you actually experience it, you go there and see it, you live it, whatever, you never really get it. Like, everyone's aware of this thing. We should be caring about it. We should be doing something about it. But it's distant. And I got a glimpse of that when I went down to Nicaragua a long time ago, and I realized, I saw, everyone knows that there's people out there that have to walk miles to carry jugs of dirty water back home, but to actually live with them and see it on a day-to-day basis, completely changes your perspective. And so to a degree, it kind of feels like that's the same sort of dynamic is what's starting to happen to our whole country, to our whole planet-ish, I don't know, where we are being forced to recognize, hey, we need to sacrifice some pride here. Maybe that's just me. Because that's definitely something that I've been working on passively. Though I feel drawn to work on it more actively. Yes, yeah. I was like thinking through, is that a correct statement? As I was saying the statement, I was like, is this correct? Yes, that is correct. I am feeling drawn to work on that more actively. But also, at the same time, to be like, no, I'm not settling for less. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to sacrifice a bit of sleep here and there. Not always, because that's important also, to maintain health, maintain the capacity to function effectively. So, like, that is part of my bare minimum of, like, I will not be sacrificing sleep. Unless if things get worse to the point where you have to. But there's also a matter of, if you keep going down and down and down and down and down, eventually you go to a point where it's no longer worth it. And that's a scary place to be, because that's where I was for most of my life. Because when you're in that state, you can't foresee the fact that later on it could be. Because as far as you can tell, that's the least likely scenario. And it's really fucking hard to hold on to hope like that. It's really hard. To be in like your rock bottom experiences of life and to think that it's gonna get better. It feels narcissistic and egotistical to assume that it will get better. But at this point, I feel like I see several different tangents related to that statement that I could wander off that are not really relevant to this video. Maybe I'll try to summarize and wrap it up, because this did go on a bit longer than I thought, because I rambled a bit more than I expected, which is a-okay. Basically, life is chaos. Wait, hold on. This is actually a great first video after restarting the New Game Plus IRL 2.0. If you don't know what that is, go check out my channel. There's a video on it that explains it. This is a great way to be like the first thing you realize. Okay, fine. I'll briefly explain the concept in video games for anyone who hasn't seen my other videos. Because at this point I'm a small channel, I don't expect anyone to understand what it is that I'm doing here. I don't expect anyone to have already seen my other videos, so I will explain the concept of this channel here in this video. I will repeat myself in many videos until I annoy myself and everyone else. No, until I annoy everyone. Once other people start getting annoyed, then I'm like, oh, cool, they get it. They don't need me to keep explaining it. So that's what I'll do. But basically, the New Game Plus IRL is, in video games, you can start a new game of that same game. You can start a fresh save file, start the game over. But if you get to a certain point within the game, you then unlock this plus mode where it's like you can start the game over plus this extra thing that you bring with you from the prior attempt at playing the game. And so I'm like, let me apply that concept to real life. If I hit the reset button on life and try to experience everything anew, question everything, and experience reality for the first time again. The very first video to come after that, like, because I'm making videos of that experiment, the very first video to come after that to be like, shit is chaos. I think that's an appropriate reaction. And that's essentially what I feel like this video is. Me being like, hey, life is crazy and difficult, but hopefully maybe worth it.